Hello everyone and welcome to this new video. In this video I'm gonna be talking about this build, the Decap Scrapper build that you might have come across in PvP by now as well. First off, I take no credit for this build. Some of you guys probably know Stronlo. I saw him play it first and I asked him for the build and he gave it to me. And now I'm sharing it here because it's a surprisingly fun build to play. Basically because you do no damage and just have a lot of CC to push enemies around. There's also quite a lot of boon removal, and as you can see in, for example, this clip, it's quite easy to stay alive versus two enemies. That's because we're using a Celestial Amulet, which means that we have vitality and toughness and healing power, which are all super useful in order to stay alive. Also in this clip you can see me throwing mines and using the hemp battering ram in order to keep the Hollow Smith off the node. So basically this build really just relies upon using your CC in order to push people off node and cap it. So it's really good as a decapper, but in 1v1s and 2v1s it's also possible just to get full caps just by continuously knocking people off of the node. So quite different from most builds. Probably what comes closest to this would be some sort of ranger build. But yeah, let's go into the build right now. We start off with tools and we take streamlined kits for swiftness and gadgets here for lower cooldowns on our battering ram and the mines. Then we just have alchemy with iron blooded, so more boons means that we take less damage. In the scrapper trade line we have a lot of traits which make our CCs a lot better, increase our stun and daze duration, and also causes weakness and vulnerability to be applied to enemies when we CC them, and stability and super speed to us when we CC an enemy. Like I said before, we have Celestial Amulet and Rune of Resistance. Rune of Resistance is a good rune to have because with our kit we can get 4 seconds of resistance every 20 seconds. And then I don't know what sigil Stronlo used for his version of the build, but I decided to go for a sigil of absorption, which means that we steal a boon every time we interrupt someone. I chose this because, as mentioned before, we have the iron blooded trait, which means that every time we have any boons on us, we take 2% less condition and physical damage. So more boons is less damage. So in this first clip we have me 1v1ing a Spellbreaker, and yeah, you can just see the enormous amounts of CC that this build is able to deal out. With the Gadgeteer trait, the mines drop 2 mines, one at the target location and one at your own location. So that means 2 mines on point, together with 2 battering rams. I think the cooldown of battering ram is like every 16 seconds, which knocks people off the node like quite far. So you have 2 times CC every time you throw a mine. You have 2 battering rams. In addition, you have the tool belt skill for the battering ram, which applies a long range daze, which is also useful for when you want to interrupt healing skills from a distance. And additionally, we have, of course, our shield skills. Shield number 4 pushes people away, and shield number 5 stuns them, and you can also throw the shield to daze them again. So all in all, lots of CC, and I'm always forgetting one, which is the function gyro. With the trait, function gyro dazes for 1.5 seconds, which is also quite a long amount, and this is insta-cast as well, like an insta-cast 1.5 second daze, which is, if you cast that at the right time, then you're almost assured a kill if you, for example, interrupt a healing skill. And remember that when playing this build, I mean, it is quite annoying to play against. You're gonna get some interesting whispers from people like what's happening to me here right now. I first encountered this build when I was playing my Reaper, and basically the mistake that people make when fighting against this build is to try to fight it, because in a 1v1 it's quite difficult to kill. In a 2v1 this build can easily be killed, but you basically just need to rely on good dodging and kiting in order to not get killed. But yeah, basically you should use this build as a side noter, either to keep your own points or to contest far. It's just important to kite away every time the enemy, like, you are getting outnumbered, because 2v1s are still quite difficult, especially versus like a Revenant and Thief, for example. And surprisingly, the build is relatively mobile as well, because of large amounts of super speed. Every time you CC an enemy, you get 3 seconds of super speed, and it's important to know that with the Scrapper traits, the F1 tool belt skills, so that would be Healing Mist, coming from our healing turret, applies 7 seconds of super speed. So every time you need to get out of a sticky situation, just use F1, and that should give you enough super speed to be able to get out of that situation. You will see me using that in a little bit in this clip as well. Also, like I said before, the gyro is extremely useful in this build, not only for the insta-cast days, but using this on downed opponents in order to stomp or revive them can also really turn the tide of a fight. So just keep that in mind, and don't use the skill carelessly. Also, lastly, the mortar skill is very good combined with the runes of resistance, because it allows us to get 4 seconds of resistance every 20 seconds. So be sure to swap to this kit every time you get Condi bursted to get that resistance. The number 2, 3, and 4 skills also apply very debilitating conditions like poison, chill, and blind. And the number 5 skill is a water combo field, so be sure to blast into that using shield 4 or by detonating your mines in order to get more heals. The other utility skill that I've not mentioned yet is the Bulwark Gyro, which should just be used every time you get pressured, or to be able to stay and bunker on point a bit longer, but usually I get this as soon as like a thief jumps me or I'm out of stun breaks, because ironically the weakness of this build is that there are no stun breaks. You get stability every time you CC someone because of our Grandmaster Scrapper trait, but as soon as that stability runs out, you're very susceptible to getting stun locked, so be sure to use the Bulwark Gyro for when you're really under pressure. That was really all I had to say about the build. It's quite simple, relatively straightforward. I'll post a link to it in the description down below. Again, shout out to the people who made this build. I don't think Stronlo made it himself. I think there was someone else. I forgot the name of that person. But yeah, it's a super fun build. You can try it out, and it's quite effective for holding nodes. Just don't expect to kill anyone with this build anytime soon. That was all from me, and have a great week, you guys. Bye.
Your love is a 1 in a million.